Hello everyone. I would like to show you an easy to understand model that relates to your personal finances. Modern money is called currency, and in the business arena, cash flow is a very common term. Simply put, money flows. Therefore, it's much easier to understand personal finances if you compare it to liquid flowing into different tanks. The simplest financial model is making a living. This is like a pipe where water flows in, but it flows out immediately. When it comes to money, water flowing in is your income. As you get the money, it runs out to cover your expenses, and you hope to make ends meet, meaning that your money lasts until the end of the month. Making a living means having enough to get by, but nothing more. The purpose of your income is twofold. First, to cover your living expenses, and second, to provide additional resources for savings and investments. In other words, to sustain. Going back to the making a living model, let's expand this model and install at the bottom of the pipe a valve. We will call it lifestyle. Your lifestyle choices will determine how much money will be dispensed for expenses. Are you living in a house where the mortgage is $2,000 a month? Or could you live well in a place where the mortgage is only $1,200? Are you driving a new car, paying a $400 note every single month? Or can you make it with an older car that's paid off, for which you occasionally pay a couple $100 for repairs? Do you spend $15 every day at lunch? Or do you pack a lunch that costs you not more than $5? Because your money comes in at given intervals, weekly, every 2 weeks, or even monthly. This is like water flowing into a bucket at a given time. Therefore, you need a tank to buffer it. Let's call it the main tank. With money, this is your checking account. Money flows in, your lifestyle valve controls how much money goes out and how much is accumulated in the tank. What if something happens and the water inflow decreases? If you do not adjust the valve, the main tank will go empty. In order to avoid this, you can add a reserve tank next to the main tank. They are connected to each other with a pipe going sideways. This pipe is not connected at the bottom of the main tank because you do not want the main tank to ever go empty. But whenever the water exceeds a certain level in the main tank, it overflows into the reserve tank and flows into this tank until it's filled up. If, for some reason, less water is coming into the main tank, you can pump some water from the reserve tank. Your reserve tank represents your savings. The purpose of saving money is probably one of the most common misconceptions in the area of personal finances. You are told that you have to save money in order to spend it when you retire, and hope they will last until you die. The purpose for saving is to cover your expenses for a period of time. For example, if you and your family goes through a difficult time and you are not able to generate the same income. It may be a temporary unemployment or some sickness that incapacitates you. And during times like this, you need to focus all your mental and emotional resources on fixing the problem you are facing, not worry about having enough money to cover your basic expenses. In other words, the purpose of savings is protection. How much savings should you have? Most experts recommend an amount that would cover between 3 and 12 months of your basic expenses: mortgage or rent, utilities, car payments, food, and so on. Because the main purpose of saving is protection, the priorities are liquidity and safety, not return. This is money that you may need to access on a short notice, and you have to be sure that it's there when you need it. Now, if there is enough water coming into the main tank and your reserve tank is full, you have two options. To open the lifestyle valve or add a growth tank. As the water flows into this growth tank, it will grow because there are people out there who say, I need water now, and if you give me a gallon now, I'm willing to give back to you later 1 gallon and a cup. You see, when it comes to human behavior, discipline and patience are two very important elements. People who want something now but don't have the resources to get it are willing to pay later a higher price in order to get it. That extra cup is the price paid by the person who needs water now but doesn't have it. At the same time, that extra cup is your reward because you chose to save that gallon and not use it for your lifestyle. As you do it over and over again, the water in your growth tank grows. Do it many times. Your gallon becomes 2 gallons. Now, instead of 1 gallon to lend out, you have 2. You get back 2 cups instead of 1. Repeat it over and over, and your growth tank increases to a level where you can start pumping water from your growth tank into your main tank without decreasing the water level in the growth tank. At this point, even if one source of water dries out, there is no problem because there is enough coming into the main tank from the growth tank. In the financial area, the equivalent of the growth tank is your investment portfolio. Every investment is based on a simple principle. You give away some money and get it back after a while, plus some return. How big of a return? It depends on the risk of that particular investment. The purpose of investments is to provide returns in form of cash flow. The keywords here are return and risk. Safer investments produce lower return. If you want higher return, you may need to pick riskier investments. Like with water, if you reinvest the return of your investments, after a while you'll find out that the total return on your investment generates an income that is at least equal to your income as an employee. This is the moment when you can quit your job if you want to. Robert Kiyosaki calls this perpetual wealth, when the income generated from your assets is enough to sustain your lifestyle without you having to work. Going back to our water flow model, this growth tank idea is kinda cool. Is there a way to make it grow faster? Yes, because you're a good steward of your own water consumption. You can borrow water from other people that have plenty of water. You make a deal where you borrow 1 gallon, promising to pay back 1 gallon and a half cup, no matter what, and you lend it to someone who needs water now, and in return you get back a gallon plus a full cup. You return the gallon plus the half cup and keep half cup as a gain. So how does this work? You take your own gallon and then add the borrow gallon. You lend out 2 gallons and get back 2 gallons and 2 cups. You return the gallon you borrowed plus the half cup. And you keep the gallon you started with, and now you have gained 1.5 cups. Let's review again what happens here. You have 1 gallon in your growth tank. You borrow another gallon from people who have water now, and now you have 2 gallons to lend out. You get back 2 gallons and 2 cups from people who need water now, 1 cup for each gallon. Now you can return the gallon and the half cup. People who had water now to start with can say that they have more water now, but you can say the same. So you started with 1 gallon that gave you 1.5 cup return, compared with only 1 cup that you would have gained if you only used your gallon. The return on your gallon is amplified because you added a borrowed gallon. You can ask, why would someone lend me a gallon to get back half cup rather than going out and lending to others directly and get a full cup? The answer is because they trust you more than they trust others. They see that you are controlling well your water resources. You have a main tank that always contains water, a reserve tank that can take you through times of drought, and you have a growth tank. You are more trustworthy than someone who has a simple pipe where water comes in and out, and a main tank that barely contains any water. In the area of personal finances, this is called leverage, or other people's money. Because you can prove that you can control your finances, you are considered creditworthy, and other people can lend you money to be used for investments. The return on your investment is higher than the interest you pay for your loan, and that difference is added to your gain. In this way, the outcome of your investment is amplified, and even if you have to pay some of that return as interest, your investment will increase faster. Now, let us review the whole concept again. Your income flows into your checking account and goes out as expenses. Keyword here is lifestyle. You choose your lifestyle, and this determines how fast money runs out of your accounts. Some of the money flows into a savings account. Keywords here are liquidity and safety. Savings protects you in a time of trouble and should cover 3 to 12 months of expenses without changing your lifestyle. When you have enough savings, you start investing. The keywords here are risk and return. And in order to increase the outcome of your investment, you may use investment debt or leverage. At some point, you reach a level where you do not need a job in order to make a living, and you reach a point of financial independence. This is the time when you work, not because you have to, but because you want to. Please come back to this channel because in the next video I will give you some practical ideas how to implement this model. I'm Justin Roșioară, and thank you for watching this Common Sense Touch.